Greetings, brothers and sisters. It's me, Lori Ann Spagna of LoriSpagna.com, here with you today to chat briefly about the topic of polarity. Now, as most of us know, or many of us know, there is a law of polarity. And while we're not here to talk today about the universal law, although I do teach about that, what I am here to share about is how polarity shows up in our lives and how it contributes to and causes, even potentially at the causes us, but contributes to and causes a lot of the polarized experiences of our lives. And usually those polarized experiences are experiences where we are in a polarized type of, it's an unpleasant typically type of experience for us. So let me give some examples of what I mean. But before I do that, let me first say, whenever we're in a polarized state of reality, it's because somehow we are in resistance or reaction. We are either in some kind of judgment, some kind of push-pull type of experience. There's some kind of hook or trigger or something within us that is somehow unresolved regarding the experience or the situation or the circumstance. And so because there's something within us that's unresolved, we have a type of polarized experience. So let me explain a little bit about what I mean before even I go into the examples a little bit more. Our reality, the physical world that we exist in, and particularly what we know as the third dimensional paradigm, is based on polarity. And that polarity is a judgment, good and evil, right and wrong, up and down, extremism type of experience, right? Everything is in polarization. So we find ourselves in experiences of opposition, of, yes, one person judging another, fear versus love, or darkness versus light, or shadow versus light, or right and wrong, judgment, opposition, argument and debate, superiority versus inferiority. We have a lot of experiences of I already know that, you don't know that. There's experience of a lot of being condescending, right? One is better than the other, better versus not better. Another type of experience of polarity is famous is important versus not famous, unimportant, rich versus poor. It all boils down to the game of good versus evil, right? We could even go to another example of conspiracy versus it's only a theory, it's not real, right? So we could go to the law of attraction, all positives movement. If you're in the law of attraction, right, and you're into that, you're trying to be all positive, but you're still in the game of polarity. All of that is third dimensional construct. And in that game of 3D, you're caught, so to speak, in a game of polarity, because the universal law, which governs from sixth dimensional reality, that universal law of polarity is governing you. Now, those kinds of experiences show up in our life. Here's the examples. As you have disagreement and argument and debate. Someone's right and they're making you wrong. They think that they're right and you're wrong. Maybe they think that they're better than you and you feel less than. Maybe it's the other way around, the shoe's on the other foot. You think you're better than someone, or you think you're more advanced than someone, or maybe you need to put someone down so that you can feel elevated and in more superiority. These are the games that play out, and they show up in our relationships with others and with ourselves. They'll show up in relationship dynamics at work. They'll show up in relationship dynamics with family. They'll show up in your own personal experience. They could show up in your career, for example, where maybe you get passed over for a promotion, for example, because you feel somewhere within you that you're inferior to another. Or maybe you don't think you're worthy because someone else is more worthy than you. Or maybe you don't get the raise that you want or make the money that you want because you don't maybe unconsciously feel worthy. This is all games of polarity, good against evil, right? Because you're not yet maybe aligned with the other part of the law of polarity, which is neutrality. So the law of neutrality, which is part of the same law, it's the same kind of law, is what takes you out of the polarity. This is what we work on in 5D. We're still governed by the law of polarity, which is also the law of neutrality. They work together. They're still working together, but we're working on bringing ourselves into more neutrality so that we're no longer in this game of good against evil, right against wrong, I'm good, you're bad, dark against light. In order to do that, we need to come into more neutrality, divine neutrality, where we neutralize the extremes of the polarized experience. So now let me, as I've been saying, I want to give some examples. So let's say you have relationship issues. Let's talk about some polarizing experiences on Earth. We could talk about the COVID experience, for example, and maybe you're a person perhaps who really believes strongly that that was a real experience, that there was something very real called COVID, and that that very real thing could kill you or cause sickness or illness. And maybe you feel extremely strong that someone should get a jab or a vax. Maybe you're on the other side of that. You could be extremely against it. You could see a whole different side of it, perhaps. You might see that it's all, from your perspective, a conspiracy, and maybe perhaps you might believe that it was all orchestrated by, say, Big Pharma, and maybe, information and misinformation and disinformation was put out on purpose, and perhaps even you might believe or perceive perhaps that there was certain brainwashing going on, and even secrecy and coercion in there. Whatever you believe does not matter, but if you have a strong emotion about it, either way, the right and wrong of it, you're seeing the other side, whatever side you believe, you're seeing the other side as wrong or bad, and you're judging and condemning the other side and the other people who believe the other side as wrong, bad, or ignorant, or not caring. Whatever that is, you're in the pendulum swing, and you're under the game of polarity, and you're engaging in the game of good against evil, dark against light. And on that topic area, and we're just using one example, on that topic area, you're in the third dimensional reality. Doesn't mean you're not in 5D on other things, but you're in a frequency bandwidth where polarity becomes your experience. And so what will happen is, whatever side of the pendulum you're on, everyone around you, including your most immediate contacts, most likely, will be pushing you, every button you have that is keeping you in that game of polarity. So if it's family, they'll show up as an opposition, constantly nagging you or bugging you, either if you're, depending on what side of the polarity game you're at. Let's say you're against all that stuff, they'll be pushing you to get tests and to get shots and vaxes and go to your doctor, and they'll tell you the wrongs, and you will be seeing them as wrong. You'll be seeing them as maybe uneducated or uninformed or without the information they need, and you'll be afraid for them, and they'll be afraid for you too. There'll be a lot of fear there, most likely. There'll be worry. Oh my God, what will happen to them if they do get the jab? Oh my God, what will happen to them if they don't get the jab? And this will show up, and there will be debate and argument. This is just one example. We use that example because it's something the whole world can relate to. So this is not about the details of that, it's about polarity. But the experiences, here's the point, that you have with those family members in this example will be very unpleasant, because there's typically argument, debate, rightness and wrongness, judgment, duality, polarity, things that separate you, things that contrast, because the game of polarity is a game of contrast. And for as long as you're in that game, that will show up. So even if you're family members, even if you don't interact with your family members, even if you move to another state, go somewhere else, you'll still have that game. Either new family members or new people you meet will start playing that same game with you. Now, if we do use another example of, let's say you have some friends who are constantly, let's say, challenging you on what you know, and you feel challenged, and you feel that they don't understand, or they don't acknowledge you, or they don't recognize how advanced you are, how much you've learned. You're so ascended, you're an ascended being, you know so much, you know about healthcare, you know about veganism, and you know about this and that spirit. You've practiced learning how to be, a Buddhist monk, or maybe you've practiced learning how to communicate with the dead, and you're a medium, and you've got all these gifts and tools, and you learn the Akashic Records, or whatever it is, and then people are showing up in your life, and they're not recognizing you, and they're not acknowledging you, and they don't see all your gifts, and they don't fairly come, but they use you, or they constantly want what you have, and you're angry, so you're at the same time maybe you're giving it, and at the same time maybe you're withholding it, right? This is a game of polarity. And so then you wonder why you don't have friends or compatible relationships, because you're in this argument and debate, superiority, inferiority game, which is a game of polarity. And so even though you want great friendships and you want great relationships and you want people to love you and you want to be loved by others and you want to love the people around you, you're finding that you're attracting people into your life who are constantly challenging you and constantly belittling you and whatever else those dynamics are, right? Because the relationships are triggering for you in the area where you're still in the game of duality and polarity. This is the game. Let's say you're a person who, it doesn't matter, pick any topic in your life and look at the people in your environment and the situations of your environment that are triggering to you, that are pushing your buttons, and you'll see that this is a mirror reflection of the polar opposite of where you are in your extremism. So those are just two examples I just gave there. But if you look at your life, anywhere where you're holding on to some kind of strong attachment or opinion or judgment or emotional trigger of some kind, we can use another example. Let's give another example, one more example. Let's say you want to be loved, and you want to be loved and love others, and you want to help people love one another. But in your life, you have extreme, let's say, narcissism, and the people around you are abusing you, and you're finding that someone is constantly saying mean or hurtful things to you, or being hypercritical to you. So you're in this polarized experience. You're trying to be loved. You're trying to prove that you're loved. You're trying to prove that you're lovable. You're trying to help other people be loved. And yet all these people are showing up in your life who are being hypercritical or emotionally or mentally abusive to you. And you're trying to forgive and forgive and forgive. But this game keeps continuing. We call it a game, right? So you keep attracting people into your life who are abusive or mentally, verbally, emotionally narcissistic with you, or just not really kind or loving to you. So you're still in the game of polarity. So these are 3 examples now that show up in your life, that could show up in your life. And you can look at your own life to see where and how this shows up in the game of duality. And as long as you're in this game of duality, which means polarity, you're, at least with regard to those experiences, you're experiencing duality, and you can't escape that until you come over. You have to pass through what we call 4D, which is to work with the unconscious, the non-physical world, the aspects that are beyond your physical experience in the non-physical, including your unconscious, including your emotions, including your own thoughts, including your own sacred contracts, including your own karma, whatever it may be, so that you can work through that, heal and resolve it, and come into what? Some kind of divine neutrality. This is the work that we do in 5D, right? Eventually, when you get into divine neutrality, you can move beyond it entirely, because it's not that you're not governed by the law of polarity. It's that you no longer are being controlled, in a sense, by the experiences that you perceive to be external to you. You realize that they are all reflections of you, reflections of the unresolved issues within yourself. And they're not the people in the external world or the circumstances or the scenarios that you can change. The change has to come from within. That's what we mean by moving through 4D. And as you come into 5D and anchor more and more by working with these non-physical aspects in a conscious way to resolve this, until you come into more divine neutrality. And that's when you get to start saying to the laws of the universe, I'm no longer interested in this polarizing experience of good against bad. I can see the light in it all. I can recognize that I'm no longer in resistance or judgment or duality. I'm no longer pushing against what I don't want. That's what people do. So even like all positives, all positives law of attraction people, they're pushing against what they don't want, or they're sweeping what they don't want under the carpet, or they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear anything negative. They don't want to pay attention to anything negative. And by so doing, they play the game of polarity. Because if you refuse to recognize the shadow aspects of the reality in your experience, by refusing, you're pushing against, you're in the game of polarity. And this game of polarity will continue to play the game of duality in your life, where there's things to push against, resist, judge, or make wrong. Now, as you come into divine neutrality, you get to tell the universal laws, I'm no longer interested in that game. And therefore, you're going to start having more enjoyable and benevolent experiences that are more divinely neutral. The divine neutral, they're benevolent, they're enjoyable, they're fun, they're positive, they're uplifting. They no longer have the extreme push-pull polarity anymore. Your relationships improve. The quality of your relationships improve. Your health improves. The quality of your health improves. Your career improves. You get a promotion, or you get that raise, or your overall income increases. Things start to happen because there's no longer a push-pull dynamic. Your friendships increase and improve. You see, so by being willing to recognize the shadow aspects, which is the dark against light, the good against bad, right against wrong, the evil against the light, by being willing to recognize that in the game of polarity, which is the third dimensional bandwidth of reality, being willing to integrate and recognize it as a mirror aspect of self, and to resolve all the issues that you see in the external reality, to resolve them within yourself. Of course, gifted healers like me, this is what we do. This is what I do. I help you with that stuff. I will help you to resolve that. I will help you to see what you don't realize. I will show you and teach you what you need to do so that you can be resolved on this, so you don't have to have those experiences anymore. They're no fun. Now, here's the really amazing thing. Once they start shifting out of your reality, you get freed up energetically, not only to have so much more better, enjoyable experiences, better health, more abundance, more wealth, more prosperity, etc., better relationships. What else happens is you get to start telling the universal laws, we don't want this game of duality anymore, where there's evil, where there's corruption, where there's greed, where there's dark forces, where there's secrecy, where there's coercion, where there's conspiracy, where there's fighting, where there's war, where there's theft, because those are the games of the polarized experience. So as you level up, you become part of the solution for the whole of humanity. Because now you're working in a conscious way with the next frequency, which is the universal laws, which governs that. Because you're no longer in polarity, because you're more in divine neutrality, you help heal and resolve all of these issues for the collective. You become part of the solution for humanity. Because the game of duality that most of humanity is playing has come to an end, but they don't know it because they're still stuck in that paradigm, and they're still experiencing those extreme types of experiences that are causing them problems with their families, their loved ones, problems with their career, problems with money, problems with their health. None of that's fun. None of it's fun anymore. There's no reason for it. We're in a new paradigm. So part of coming into that fifth dimensional paradigm is not only that you get out of that old polarizing experience by working with the non-physical, including your own unconscious, including your own energy field, but also by becoming a true, not only way shower, like, hey, this stuff really works, hey, this stuff is real, hey, it really is incredible, by working with all of this, but also you become one of the new paradigm leaders, one of those who is here to really make change for the better for humanity, and that becomes part of the joy. It's a natural byproduct of healing and resolving your own inner issues. Look, I've dedicated most of my adult life to this, almost all of my adult life to this work for both humans and animals. The transformation is amazing. There's no more fun in the game of polarity unless you want to keep experiencing more experiences associated with pain and suffering. Again, it doesn't matter if it's whether it's your family, any form of relationships, whether it's with money, career, work, your own personal self-love, self-worth, self-value, even if it's issues with your animal companions. It doesn't matter, even if it's fear about the world and where the world's going. I can guarantee you, from this paradigm, you understand. From this new frequency of non-polarized reality, you know exactly where the world's going. They're not going to continue in that paradigm. It's time for everyone to start waking up and shifting over, and we're all doing it in our own way, shape, and time. The question for you is, how much longer do you really want to play in that game when you don't have to? It's so easy, fun, joyful, and effortless to do this inner work. We use the word work, but it's really its own form of play. It's really a form of awakening the divinity and the light that is within you, the natural abilities within you to hold and embody more light and to be more divinely neutral, which means divinely aligned with the divine source that exists within each and every one of us, just waiting for us to reclaim, reawaken, and remember. And that is what I want for you. So I hope that you will join me. My name again is Lori Ann Spagna. You can visit my website at lorispagna.com. The next upcoming event where I'll be doing healing work with everyone in the group, which is totally customized for the group, is coming up on September 29th. I hope that's the right date. But you can find out all the details at lorispagna.com. When you head over to the live events tab, and just hover down over the live events tab, you will see the space where you can register and join us for the next upcoming group healing and training event. And I hope you will join us. It's a live webinar where we do this kind of healing, and we'll be working on our neural net this time, really removing all of that overstimulation from the physical world, the stress, the anxiety, the worry, the doubt, the things that keep us entangled in the game of polarity. So, yeah, it's an upcoming group healing and training event. I call it that. It's where we're doing divine transmissions and energy healing. It's on Monday, September 26th. That is the date. And it's live, a live webinar at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. Of course, you don't have to be there live. You're certainly welcome to join us in replay because the energy is coming from beyond time and space, right? The energy is from the infinite, omnipresent now, the divine source that is infinitely omnipresent, omni-available to us. That source is love. That source is consciousness. That source could be called God or the quantum field, the divine Mother, Father, God. It could be called lots of things. Regardless of what we call it, it's real, and it transmutes and heals everything in us and through us when we work with it. And it is blissful and beautiful and incredibly effective. So I hope you will join me again. The next upcoming live event, it's a group healing and training event. It's coming up on Monday, September 26th. You get the webinar replay. If you're not able to join us live, please do join us, register and join us. It's over at lorispagna.com under the live events tab. And I will show you how easy and effective it is to transform the polarized aspects that are going on in your unconscious, manifesting in your physical world, and creating experiences that just really aren't to your liking anymore. You no longer need to have that. It's time for us to heal and resolve it. And you will love it, and your future self will thank you for it. So I hope you will join me. Again, it's at lorispagna.com under the live events tab. And please do also join us for the next upcoming DNA activations call, which the next one will be on the 1111 Master Portal. That is when we work with our DNA to activate our dormant DNA and also to heal and resolve the ancestral wounding of our past. Okay. Until then, I want to say thank you so much. You'll find it all over at lorispagna.com. Make sure you join the community as well. There's lots of amazing free gifts there. lorispagna.com/free gifts. Okay, I love you so much. Until next time, farewell for now. Bye-bye.